It was suggested in a statement made by the chair of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Gary Gensler, during a meeting of the Investor Advisory Committee that cryptocurrency exchanges might not qualify as safe and qualified custodians for investment advisors. Gansler made these remarks in response to a recently proposed rule that directs investment advisors to look into qualifying custodians for the storage of assets, including cryptocurrencies. According to Gansler, this rule makes significant enhancements to the protection rules that are already in place. Gansler issued a warning that investment advisors are unable to rely on crypto trading and lending platforms as qualified custodians at this time due to the general manner in which these platforms operate. He emphasized that just because a cryptocurrency trading platform asserts that it is a qualified custodian, does not mean that it actually is one. Gansler cited recent bankruptcies in the cryptocurrency sector as evidence that customer property held on those platforms is now part of the bankruptcy estate, rather than returning directly to the customers who held the property. The purpose of the proposal is to broaden the scope of the custody rule so that it applies to all of an investor's assets, and not just their funds or securities. As a direct response to the provision that Congress made in 2010 to grant the SEC new authorities to expand the custody rule, in the wake of the global financial crisis and the frauds perpetrated by Bernie Madoff, the expanded custody rule would help ensure that financial advisors do not use investors' assets inappropriately, abuse them, or lose them. As a result of the controversy surrounding FTX, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has taken advantage of the situation to step up the amount of attention it pays to cryptocurrency. The agency is of the opinion that more stringent regulations are required in order to protect individuals from suffering the same kind of financial harm that was observed as a result of the FTX incident. There is ongoing discussion regarding the degree to which these new policies may go beyond what is considered permissible by the SEC. Despite this, it is abundantly clear that not all parties involved are pleased with the proposed measures. In this video, we are going to discuss the most recent security policies and how they not only affect the cryptocurrencies themselves, but also the exchanges where they are traded. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, passed a rule that registered investment advisors or are required to store their digital assets outside of the cryptocurrency industry as of the beginning of this month. The rule, which was the agency's first formal policy push that dealt heavily with the cryptocurrency sector, was approved by a vote of 4-1 by the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. The rule expanded on the Securities and Exchange Commission's previously established regulations, which stated that investment advisors are required to keep the money and securities of their customers with a qualified custodian. Any asset, including cryptocurrencies, that was entrusted to an investment advisor was required to have some level of protection under the revised version of the rule that was ultimately approved. Before the implementation of this rule, cryptocurrency trading platforms and lending platforms frequently provided customers with custody services for cryptocurrencies. However, these platforms did not fulfill the requirements of a qualified custodian. According to this rule, a qualified custodian must be either a chartered bank or trust company, a broker-dealer registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, or a futures commission merchant registered with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC. Although officials from the SEC stated that the rule was not intended to target the cryptocurrency industry in any particular way, they did mention the industry quite a bit in their formal remarks regarding the proposal. This move by the SEC was interpreted as a step towards greater regulation of the cryptocurrency industry and towards protecting investors in this emerging asset class. Moreover, this move was seen as a step towards protecting investors. The purpose of the SSDC's proposal is to ensure that investment advisors only place their clients' trust in financial institutions that are subject to regulation. Blockchain-based assets. With the exception of crypto businesses that are not subject to regulation by the SEC, qualified custodians would be required to comply with stringent rules. These rules include submitting to independent audits, making regular disclosures, and separating customer assets into accounts that are associated with the customer's identity. This proposal is in response to the need for greater regulatory oversight of issues pertaining to crypto custodial issues, which have been a concern for some time. This proposal has been under consideration by the agency for a considerable amount of time, prior to the recent crypto market spectacles. The action taken by the SEC is in accordance with its mandate as outlined in the Dodd-Frank Act of 2010, which was passed in response to the most recent widespread financial collapse and reformed the regulatory landscape. Gary Gensler, chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, has expressed his concern regarding the failure of some platforms to properly segregate the cryptocurrency assets of investors, which can result in those assets being pooled together with the platform's cryptocurrency or the cryptocurrency of other investors. When these platforms fail, leaving investors' assets as the property of the failed company and leaving investors in line at the bankruptcy court. This practice puts investors at risk and puts investors in line at the bankruptcy court. This proposal could, inadvertently, prevent crypto activity through advisors, which would be counterproductive to the Securities and Exchange Commission's goal of protecting investors. Despite this concern, the Commissioner made the decision to support the proposal, which suggests that the SEC is likely to continue to pursue greater regulatory oversight of the cryptocurrency industry. Despite this concern, the Commissioner made the decision to support the proposal. This proposal is given a lower perceived level of drama as a result of Gansler's own crypto rhetoric. The chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has previously stated that the majority of tokens are securities that ought to be registered under the rules that are currently in place. Securities are required to already be held by qualified custodians in order for investment advisors to be able to work with them. According to Gansler's interpretation, this means that the existing standards already have an effect on the vast majority of digital assets. If what he says is true, then this revision effort will check to see that no crypto assets have been omitted from consideration. The most recent proposal for a rule raises some questions about the role of companies like Anchorage Digital, which is a cryptocurrency-focused trust that is regulated by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, or state-chartered institutions such as those in Wyoming. According to officials from the SEC, as long as a company can meet a list of requirements, they can seek to act as a qualified custodian. However, proposed rules don't always make it all the way to the finish line. The agency plans to hold a comment period that will last for 60 days, during which time the cryptocurrency industry will undoubtedly make its voice heard. It is customarily a multi-month-long process, but the SEC will be responsible for reviewing and taking into consideration the outside input. After that, the Secretary of the Treasury will be responsible for drafting and approving the final version of the rule, before it can be put into effect. In the past, the SEC has solicited public feedback on issues pertaining to custody, such as a request for comments in the year 2020. Following Wyoming's lead, other states have begun allowing state-regulated entities to qualify as qualified custodians. At the conclusion of that comment period, there was not a single proposal for any official policies. Do you believe the SEC will uphold this policy and make it mandatory? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section, which can be found below. Additionally, ensure that you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and enable push notifications for any future videos. We appreciate you watching.